Welcome to episode 2 of our mini series that we're doing this week on the rankings of all the position groups of fantasy football. Today we're doing running backs, and how we're going to do it is pretty similar to yesterday's quarterback video. We're going to go over top 15. The way we're going to do it is we're each going to go over our 15 to 11 kind of quickly, and then we're going to go more in depth on our top 10. And then at the end, we're going to go over some other good later round running backs to use and some sleepers.
Some good value draft picks that some people are overlooking this year.
Indeed, which will help with our draft strategy, which you will see, I guess, if you're seeing this on Tuesday, which is when it's going out, a week from today, we will be releasing our mock draft video, and you'll see kind of our strategy, why running backs are important for us. And let's just hop right into it.
Let's get into it.
So do you want to go through 15 to 11?
Sure. So my 15 coming at James Cook. So I think he actually has the potential to be higher, only because there's nobody on Buffalo's offense. They're going to dump the ball to James Cook
If he can catch the ball.
if he can catch the ball, which he did struggle a little bit last year. But if they work in the passing game with him in PPR formats, he's going to be outstanding. 14, Kenneth Walker. I think he's been pretty much consistent with the Seahawks. I think he's just going to
Always a good choice.
Always a consistent choice. I think he's just going to continue that in this year. And with Geno Smith kind of on a rebound year, I know he didn't have a horrible year last year, but compared to his first year, which was amazing, I think he's going to try to look for a little bit more running back help to get him out of some situations. So I think they may dump the ball off to him a little bit more.
Absolutely.
13, Josh Jacobs. He's on the Packers now. Yep. And he's always been a strong-willed guy, and I think that he may fall a little bit because Packers have always used A.J. Dillon as their first snap, try to run the ball down the field type guy, because you've seen his legs. They're kind of the size of my
tree
torso.
trunks.
So he may fall a little bit, but I think he's a very versatile running back. We saw it in Las Vegas. He's a great pass-catching running back.
I have Josh Jacobs in my top 10.
Really?
I think he's going to have a really good year this year, away from the Raiders' offense and all those coaching mishaps. Also, I'd like to apologize if you hear planes. We're outside, if you couldn't tell. There's a lot of planes going over us, so hopefully the mic doesn't pick it up too much.
At 12, I got Joe Mixon. So he's on
the Texans.
Texans, right? That offense is ridiculous. And I think that they have so many pass-catching threats that I think that some of their ground game is going to be a little bit overshadowed. But I think that when they give the ball to Joe Mixon, I think he's gonna average 4 or 5 yards carry at least. So I think he's a good pick. And then at 11, I can argue that you can put him in the top 10, Alvin Kamara. As long as the Saints don't improve on using their second-string running back as his alternative.
Who is their second-string running back?
I forgot his name, but I remember when I had Kamara last year. I remember when I had Kamara last year, and when I would watch the games, they put in the backup running back a lot. It wasn't for very useful snaps, but they did take a lot of snaps away. Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller.
Kendre
Miller, sorry.
I don't know if Jamal Williams is still there, but Kendre Miller is.
No, I just checked.
Oh.
And I think that he's going to be good. We all know Alvin Kamara is a very, very versatile back. He catches, he runs. And in PPR formats, which is what we're doing, he could very well end up as a top 5 running back by the end of the season.
Is that all? Okay. So, for mine, I realized this, I think yesterday. Yesterday. I don't have Joe Mixon anywhere in my top 20 because I forgot he existed. Completely forgot he existed. So what I'm going to do is I had Devon Achane in my top 15. I'm going to take him out and slide Joe Mixon into that spot. So at number 15, I am going to have Joe Mixon. I think the Texans' offense is always going to be good. They lost Devin Singletary. Dameon Pierce had a very down year last year.
Very down
And
year.
I don't know how they're going to use Joe Mixon. That's why I don't have him any higher on this list. It's kind of maybe why I forgot about him, because I don't know how much they're going to use him, if they're going to let Dameon Pierce kind of jump back into what he was his rookie year. But yeah, I wouldn't put Joe Mixon any higher, but I think he's always going to be a solid, maybe 5th or 6th round running back. At 14, I have Alvin Kamara. Same reason as you. I mean, he's always going to be consistent as long as he doesn't get hurt. You always got to feel like a little apprehensive to draft one of these types of guys because of their backup, like Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, because you never know how, if their backup, if they get hurt for a game or two and their backup does amazing, you don't know if they're going to fall back into the role that they had when they get back.
Right.
So it's always going to be a risky pick, but consistency is also everything in fantasy, so it's never going to be a bad pick. At number 13, I have James Cook, and once again, like you said, we have very similar 15 to 11s. The Bills' offense, especially the receivers, don't really have much, so I feel like Josh Allen and James Cook are going to run the ball themselves a lot. I think Josh Allen's going to have a lot of rushing yards this year. I think James Cook's going to have a lot of rushing yards this year. And James Cook's always good. He can always get a touchdown when they're on the line. Josh Allen sometimes runs those in, but when you have a quarterback with speed, it's always kind of going to be
It's always
a risk you're going
right.
to take. At number 12, I have Kenneth Walker. I love Kenneth Walker. I really think that he's going to be amazing this year. And yeah, I always say this. I feel like Kenneth Walker doesn't really get the hype. Not the hype, but like
the recognition.
The recognition. People don't really acknowledge the fact that he's been a really good running back for, I think he's been in the league 2 years now.
2 or 3, I forgot. Yeah.
He's always been solid. He's always been consistent. He'll get touchdowns. He gets yards. At least in this last 2 seasons, he always is going to have those 1 or 2 big games where he gets over 20 points. And I feel like it happened more in his first year than last year, but it still happens.
And even last year, when people considered it a down year for him, he still did very well. I think he ended as the running back 7 or 8 or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
For someone that's going to get taken in the 4th or 5th rounds,
right.
That's always going to be a good pick. And then finally at number 11, I have Tony Pollard, who I think I said this in the quarterback video yesterday. He does not have anything on that team. DeAndre Hopkins is always getting hurt, and even when he plays, he doesn't always get the points. I think they got Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Who knows what he's going to do? I feel like he can go up or down. It's the whole consistency thing again. They lost Derrick Henry, and I feel like they're going to try to run their offense like Tony Pollard is Derrick Henry, which I think is going to benefit a lot of people that draft Tony Pollard in the later rounds, because I feel like he's dropping pretty low in a lot of the mock drafts that we've done.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go into our top 10?
Sure. One thing about Tony Pollard I just want to add. People, you said how they're going to try to run Tony Pollard like he's Derrick Henry. 2 very different style.
Oh, absolutely. Derrick Henry's huge. Tony Pollard is small.
Right. So I think if they do that, I don't know if it'll benefit Tony Pollard as well, but I think what will benefit Tony Pollard as well is using Derrick Henry's weaknesses as Tony Pollard's strengths. We all know Derrick Henry wasn't the best pass-catching running back.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then if they start to realize in their schemes that, hey, this guy's more agile, this guy can, obviously Derrick Henry can break tackles, but naturally if you're smaller, you can dodge, you can spin, you can do all these things to get break out of tackles easier.
Right.
I think that if they use that pass catching ability that they couldn't use on Derrick Henry with Tony Pollard, I think he'll be an amazing running back.
Yep, absolutely.
For my top 10, my number 10 is Travis Etienne.
Okay.
I had him last year in one of my not our league.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, no, other league. And he did very, very well for me until when it mattered most, which was fantasy playoffs.
I just realized that I had him in our league and I
Yes.
traded him for Miles Sanders.
Yes.
But we're not going to talk about
That
that.
was top 3 worst trades I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and he ended up winning the championship, the guy that had him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's my bad.
By the way, this guy went from losing
Oh, yeah,
our
he came
fantasy
last
league
the year before.
to winning last year. It was crazy. But Travis Etienne, I think he's going to have a little bit of a rebound year. I think it's the fact that they. Let me just look up the Jaguars.
I also have Travis Etienne in my top 10. I have him at number 9, so I'll talk about him a little bit. But pretty much everything Nick is saying is right. Like, Travis Etienne is always going to be a good running back. Like I've said for a lot of these guys. Running backs in the NFL, most of them at least, are very consistent. And as long as they don't get injured, they'll always be putting up the points that you want. Or maybe not the points that you want, but consistent points that'll help you get to the win.
Let me just add in.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the depth chart right now. They don't have anybody that's going to really
Who's their backup? I actually don't
Tank
know.
Bigsby.
I love Tank Bigsby.
Great name. But even with Tank Bigsby, they came out and I'm pretty sure they came out and said Tank Bigsby's not going to
No, nobody's going to take Etienne's spot. That's not going to happen.
And I feel like even if Tank Bigsby takes away some touchdowns,
I don't think he will. He's
a big running back.
I guess.
Though. But it's not going to be a significant amount that it's going to tank Travis Etienne's draft position. I think if you can get him in...
Yeah, I see what you did there. Tank.
Yeah, not intentional. I think if you can get Travis Etienne in like the 3rd or the 4th round, I think that's a steal. I think that's a steal.
Yeah, I don't disagree there.
I have Tony Pollard at 9, a little higher than you, but same reason. I think that even though in his first year as the guy in Dallas, he didn't do very well, I think he just needed a new offense, and I think that they're relying on him a lot, so I think that's going to be a very good environment for him. Number 8, Kyren Williams. That was your boy
he was
last
my guy
year.
last year. I picked him up pretty early.
In waiver wire.
So one thing that I will say with mine and Nick's list, they're very similar, but they're also a little different. Like a lot of these guys I have a little higher than Nick does.
Yep.
Like Kyren Williams, I have at 7, not 8.
Right. And my only difference is that Christian knows this, I'm a chronic overthinker when it comes to fantasy.
20-something trades last year?
20-something trades last year. I
scouring the waiver wire, never gets the good waiver pickups. He's always still good, but he doesn't like that he's good. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't understand it. In our league last year, I drafted Austin Eckler at 2nd overall when I should have picked Christian McCaffrey, and we all know
McCaffrey fell to 3rd.
McCaffrey fell to 3rd.
The person that had McCaffrey lost in the championship.
Yeah.
So
maybe that was the difference. But Kyren, I think this year, he's not slowing down.
No.
Rams' offensive line, I think, is only going to get better. I think that Puka Nacua is now taking over the number 1 role from Cooper Kupp. I think they're going to look to Kyren a little bit more. And if they're not going to look to Kyren a little bit more, I think they're going to give him a lot more goal line opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Number 7, Derrick Henry. I don't know if you guys have seen this picture, but Derrick Henry in the all-black Ravens uniform.
It's nice.
That guy's going to drop 2,000 yards this year.
I don't have him as high as you.
Maybe not that much, but I think he's going to. I think he's going to. His 30-year-old body is going to absolutely run through some.
Any defense that he faces.
I think he's going to be so good this year, and if people are using his age as a hindrance.
If you thought the Ravens were good last year, just wait till this year.
I think they're very high up in the
Super Bowl contention.
Yeah, thank you. Number 6, Saquon Barkley. We're Giants fans, so I hate
Saquon Barkley.
I wish I could put him at 403, but regardless, he's a good running back. I think on the Eagles' offense, they're gonna use him like they used DeAndre Swift, but Saquon's a bigger guy, so I think he's just going to have more usage and more opportunities.
I think he's going to be really good this year.
Number 5, Jahmyr Gibbs. The thing is with Jahmyr Gibbs is that we saw last year that David Montgomery started out as the main guy, and then it kind of shifted over to Jahmyr Gibbs after David Montgomery's injury.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may go back and forth this year because I don't think the Lions aren't the team that they want to rely on a single scheme involving one running back. I think if they have the opportunity to use Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they're going to use both. With that being said, I still think that Jahmyr Gibbs is a great running back for you to have because even though if he does split carries with...
I love Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right. If he does split carries with David Montgomery, we saw last year that Jahmyr Gibbs was a better...
That doesn't matter if you split with David Montgomery. David Montgomery might get the touchdowns.
Right. That's exactly what I was just about to say. David Montgomery might get the touchdowns, but Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to get more usage, which is overall going to end up with more points.
Yeah.
So, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll start from my 10. They're mostly the same as him, but in different places. I have Derrick Henry at 10 because his age, honestly.
Oh, really? That's...
I do have Derrick Henry at 10. I think he's going to be a really good running back, but as running backs get older, they start decreasing in value earlier than a lot of other players that get older, like wide receivers and quarterbacks.
Definitely.
So I wouldn't want Derrick Henry any higher, but I also think that Derrick Henry is a very good option in the late second, early third round. He'll get you the yards. He always does. Get you the touchdowns. And I think on this Ravens offense, he's going to fit in perfectly. Because as we were saying yesterday in our quarterback rankings towards the end of the video, I think him and Lamar are going to run a lot of trick plays with one of them faking the ball, one of them getting the ball. So whether it's Lamar faking the handoff to Derrick Henry and him going, or Lamar acts like he's going to run and Derrick Henry having the ball on the other side of the field getting a touchdown.
Right.
I can see it going both ways for this team. I think Derrick Henry's going to be a very good pick to pick in the late second, early third round. At number 9, I have Travis Etienne. I don't really have anything different to say than Nick. There's nobody to back him up except Tank Bigsby, who Travis Etienne is worlds better than. And he's not really.
They didn't use Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, he doesn't really have any competition. The Jaguars lost Calvin Ridley, so they added Gabe Davis, but
you can't really compare Gabe Davis
and Calvin Ridley. So I think Travis Etienne, as long as he stays healthy, is not going to do bad at all this year. And number 8, I have Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have a crazy rebound this year, a great bounce back year. He's going to, honestly, I think he can definitely.
He's that high?
Yes,
oh,
I think.
Wow.
I think he has the potential to rush for 1,500 yards this year.
Wow.
I genuinely think that he can rush for 1,500 yards this year, because, honestly, the main reason is that the Packers wide receivers are always hurt, and they're not the best in the world. They're not the greatest receivers. They're not. I wouldn't even say they're consistent. They're good, like middle of the road wide receivers, but they don't have like the guy. And I think Josh Jacobs is going to fit right into this lineup as the guy on this team. And he's going to get a lot of carries. I think Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon will still get a lot of carries, but I don't think he'll get nearly as much as he saw with Aaron Jones.
Definitely not.
At number 7, I have Kyren Williams, my guy. Love Kyren. I do have him a little low, only because I think he's going to take a step back this year.
Really?
I do. I think Puka Nacua will too. I just think that when you have that good of a rookie season,
it's hard to match.
It's hard to match.
Right.
So people are drafting him higher than he should be drafted because of that. And
what did he end in fantasy last year?
I don't remember. Maybe he was hurt towards the end, so maybe like 8, 9, 10 area. Okay. He was the running back 1 for a long time though. Running back 1, 2, because he had those like crazy 30-point games.
Right.
Which I just don't think is going to happen this year. I think it'll be a consistent 20-point scorer. But I don't think.
Which is still amazing. Like that's still.
That's why he's absolutely in the top 10, close to 5. But I don't know. I just think he's going to take a step back this year.
That's a big thing about fantasy rankings. A lot of people, when they look at rankings, they're all like
based on the past
season. But you have to look at what their present situation is.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
that's why I have. Like, if I was comparing Tony Pollard to last season, he would be not even in my top 15. But if you look at his present situation, he's in a good place.
Absolutely, and I feel like people kind of forget that sometimes. At number 6, going from someone who might take a step back to someone who I think is going to have a crazy bounce back year this year, Jonathan Taylor.
JT.
Injuries derailed his season pretty quick last year. I feel like people last year were taking him in like the second or third round as a steal because he was the running back one
Right.
2 years before that.
Right.
And then he had a down season. People were like, okay, he's going to be a bounce back player this year. And then he got hurt. So I think that bounce back season is going to happen this year with the Colts. And they don't have Zach Moss anymore.
They don't. So there's really no.
While he wasn't a great factor in Jonathan Taylor's absence.
He was.
Sorry, before Jonathan Taylor got hurt, he wasn't a big factor. In his absence, he was so good that when Jonathan Taylor was back, they were still kind of splitting carries with him and Zach Moss. And I feel like that hurt his bounce back ability, which isn't a word, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to have that bounce back season this year with the Colts. With who is their quarterback? Anthony Richardson. Who, like I said yesterday, who knows what he's going to do this year. Moving to my number 5, Saquon Barkley. And I don't really got much to say about him. I don't like him. But I think he's going to be a really good running back this year with the Eagles offense. They always run the ball great. And that's all I want to say about Saquon.
I will add one thing about the Eagles offense. I don't know how good their center is going to be because the center is the biggest part about a running. Running ability.
Who is their center?
I think losing Jason Kelce is such a huge hit. We have to see in the first 2 or 3 weeks how they do because that's a big loss to have, and they got to adjust. But I'm sure they've been working on it all camp and everything.
Cam Jurgens. I think he's a rookie. I believe he's a rookie. Nope, he's not a rookie. He's drafted in 2022. But I think for the top 4, we'll just go back and forth. I'll start with 4, then you go to 4, and then we'll just go back and forth. So at number 4, I have Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't really know. I think he should be higher, but the 3 guys I have higher than him are definitively better than him. And I think he's one of the rookies this year that's not going to take a step back. I know David Montgomery's still there. The team is pretty much the same.
Yeah, they didn't do a lot.
So that's why I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to perform the same. Yeah. They really didn't change anything. Dan Campbell seems to like splitting time for some reason with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but I think he realized later in the season that Jahmyr Gibbs was the guy to go to. And I think he's going to start the season like that, which will lead to Jahmyr Gibbs having higher points earlier in the season, which is always a good thing.
Right.
Who do you have at number 4?
I got JT at number 4.
Okay.
So I think that I agree with you. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I just think that the reason why I'm putting JT over Jahmyr Gibbs is because there's still that risk factor with splitting carries. You never know which way it can go. I just think that JT is a little bit of... I think Jahmyr Gibbs is he has a higher floor than JT, but I think JT has a much higher ceiling, if that makes sense. Because I think that if you want consistency, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get you 15 to 20 points every week.
Jonathan Taylor has the potential to get you. When he get me that one game, 56 points.
Exactly. I think that explosiveness.
That was one of the best games I've ever seen. I was so happy. We weren't even watching that game. I think we were at Target. But yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor is always going to be a good option.
Yeah. Number 3.
Yeah. So number 3, I have Breece Hall. I think we have the same top 3.
Yeah. We have the same top 3.
Let's just kind of talk about them then. I think Breece Hall is going to be amazing this year. I know he had injuries last year. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. Who knows with the Jets offense what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? And I think I love Breece Hall. I always want him on my team. I had him his rookie year. I tried to get him last year. Couldn't get it done.
Who had him last
year? Brendan.
Oh.
Couldn't get it done because he loves Breece Hall as much as I do and was not willing to trade him. I even offered him his favorite player in the league, DJ Moore. He didn't even take it.
Brendan is a big Bears fan.
Indeed he is.
Huge Bears fan.
But, yeah, I just think Breece Hall is going to be... I could honestly... If Christian McCaffrey didn't exist, I think Breece Hall could be RB1.
Really?
I genuinely think
Bijan?
So. I think Bijan can too, but I think Breece Hall... I honestly could see Breece Hall finishing as RB1 more than Bijan Robinson.
I can see that. I think both of them are interchangeable.
Yes. Which leads us to our number 2. Bijan Robinson.
I think that without Arthur Smith just
decimating their
offense and decimating his value, I think. But even with Arthur Smith decimating his value last year.
He didn't perform terribly.
He still got like 15 points a game.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not some games. There were some bad games.
There were some bad games. But I think that they're going to use the crap out of him. I think they're going to
Absolutely.
his usage is going to be off the charts. I don't think they're using Tyler Algier.
Remember what you said last year about Tyler Algier?
Well, yeah, but I drafted Tyler Algier
The steal of the draft.
In my defense, we do our drafts very late. Early, sorry. Because
you leave early.
Yeah, we're all in college, so we try to do it. So we're all together.
This year we're doing 1 and 1. We're doing one before, one after. One right before the season.
Right.
That's the good one.
That's the good one.
That's the one you guys will hear about.
When we were drafting, the Falcons didn't come out and say who was their number one. So the day of the draft, I just wanted to make sure. And on the depth chart, it said Tyler Algier was one and Bijan was 2. I drafted Tyler Algier.
Took the risk and
literally
faced the consequences.
Literally a day later, depth chart updated. Bijan is 1, and Tyler Algier was 2. First game of the season, Tyler Algier gets 28 points or 22 points or something.
You thought you were king.
I thought I was the king of the world. So I tried to sell him on a high.
You didn't.
Nobody took him, and I was stuck with Tyler Algier for the rest of the year. Not as my running back. I think I had him on my bench. Yeah. I think I eventually traded him for somebody, but not a good pick. Yeah, I think Bijan's going to be great this year.
And number one really doesn't need any introduction. He's the guy in the NFL. Cover of Madden 25, which I don't believe in the Madden curse.
Really?
To an extent, I do, but not really as much as you do. Christian
I'm not
McCaffrey.
Even a superstitious guy.
This is the one thing he's superstitious about. Christian McCaffrey.
I think if you have the number 1 overall pick,
you take Christian McCaffrey.
Either you're taking Christian McCaffrey or CeeDee Lamb.
You're taking Christian McCaffrey. You're not taking CeeDee Lamb. With the second pick, you're taking CeeDee Lamb. With the first pick, you're not taking him.
I think that Christian McCaffrey will average you 25 points a game after this.
You think? He definitely will. As long as he doesn't get hurt.
As long as he doesn't get hurt.
As long as the Madden curse doesn't come to bite him.
Yeah. We really don't need to
say it. It didn't really bite Josh Allen last year, which
no, it didn't.
Maybe it took an off year and Christian McCaffrey's going to die on the field. Who knows? Anything could happen with the Madden curse.
Okay.
But, I don't think really you need to elaborate on McCaffrey.
No.
He's Christian McCaffrey. He catches the ball. He can pass the ball.
Yeah, didn't he have 2 passing touchdowns?
I think he did. So who really knows what's going to happen with him? But all I know about him is that if you have the first overall pick in your draft, for the love of God, take Christian McCaffrey. Don't make the same mistake that whoever had first pick in our league did last year. And whoever had the second pick in our league did last year. Taking Austin Eckler second.
Well, the consensus was last year that Justin Jefferson was the...
Fair. But McCaffrey ended up being the 3rd overall pick. But don't do that this year.
I'm not making that same mistake.
There you go. So we're back, and we're in a different place. I ran out of storage on my phone, and we had to stop the video, and then I had to go to work, so we didn't really have time to record.
Welcome to my basement.
Yeah, now we're inside because it's dark outside. You wouldn't be able to see us. But we still wanted to give you the running back sleepers.
We're committed.
That's the most important part of drafting, I feel like, is the sleepers.
Definitely.
So... do you want to just get into our one mutual sleeper?
So we're starting off with Zamir White. We just looked at the depth chart just to make sure. Alexander Mattison is listed as second, but I don't think they're going to use Alexander Mattison as their guy. In their first preseason game, they used both of them. Zamir White had 6 carries. 23
yards and a touchdown.
Yep. So
Madison had 3 carries, 15 yards?
And 15 yards. So it's very different usage there. It seems that they're already giving Zamir White red zone opportunities,
right?
Which is good.
And I think they're going to continue that until they can't anymore, if that makes sense.
Right.
Until he starts messing up, he's going to get those opportunities. And I think he's someone you should target in your draft because they don't have a good quarterback right now. They're Gardner Minshew. No disrespect to him, but it's Gardner Minshew. And they got Brock Bowers, and I understand that they have a good receiving core, but with a quarterback like that, I feel like they're gonna have to run the ball a lot. So Zamir White's a good good choice. I'm gonna take him in. I'm gonna try and take him in all of my drafts, And yeah, I mean, who do you have as one of your other sleepers?
So I got Jonathan Brooks. He is the Panthers running back that
Hmm.
they drafted. They drafted him this year, I'm pretty
I
sure.
believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
right now he's listed as the RB2.
Right. But I think that's going to change very quickly. They still have Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders on their roster, but
Chuba Hubbard is, I believe, the first RB1
is the
right
first
now.
Robert on. But they both showed absolutely no signs of life last year. Miles Sanders even worse. So I think that Jonathan Brooks having a rookie sensation on that team, I think that's going to be a good pick for everybody.
So for me, I don't know if he's considered a sleeper in some leagues. For me, he is. I'm not going with Nick Chubb because
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be injured. I don't know if he's going to be injured to start the season, but
He is.
okay.
He
How
is.
long is he going to be out? Do you know?
I think they're saying he's going to come back in 4 to 5 weeks into the season. I'm not sure. He's going to be out for a decently long time. I think he'll be playing by second half of the season.
That's
So
what this. I just looked up. It says that he's looking like he's going to come back towards the second half of the season.
Right.
So I think he's a good player to stash away. I think we were talking about this earlier in the video. Kind of like Jonathan Taylor last year. Obviously, that didn't work out great because he got hurt.
he was still a decent flex.
He was still
option,
a decent flex option in the playoffs, and I feel like that same thing's going to happen for Nick Chubb.
Definitely. My next one is Rico Dowdle.
I like that one. He's not on my list, but I like that.
Yeah, Cowboys running back.
Yep.
I think he's gonna start getting snaps because they only signed Zeke to a
1 year
one-year
deal,
deal, and
and it's Ezekiel Elliott.
and
So
it's
who knows
Ezekiel
how that's going to turn out?
right.
And I think that they made this signing knowing that they have Rico Dowdle to fall back on if something goes wrong with Zeke, whether he gets hurt or he just ends up not playing well.
Definitely.
Rico Dowdle is a very good player to fall back on. He hasn't had a very big sample size, but it was big enough to show that he can carry his weight if needed.
Right. Definitely.
And I don't know if you had him in your top 15 or not, but I have Isaiah Pacheco. I feel like I
You have
have
him as a sleeper.
Yes, because I feel like I haven't really been thinking about him while I was looking at like my.
He's definitely getting a little bit overlooked.
I feel like I've been overlooking him for every time I do a mock draft. I kind of just I forget he's there, and I kind of just skip over him.
I think he's been going 3rd or 4th round. I think
I've seen him even later,
Oh,
like
really?
5th round. But
Okay.
I feel like he was so overhyped. I think last year he was overhyped.
Very overhyped.
And I think everybody's kind of coming off that high, realizing that he wasn't as good as they thought he would be because
he's a good running back, but people
the
were
Chiefs
projecting him.
had so many other things that they could do
Right.
where he wasn't really needed.
Right.
But now with who knows if Rashee Rice is going to play after what happened yesterday, who knows when Hollywood Brown will be back.
For those who don't know, Marquise Brown was in the hospital, but he's out now.
Yeah, he tore something.
I don't know what happened, but the Chiefs are saying he's back in camp, but they don't know
when he's going to play. So who knows how he's going to play, when he's going to play. So that's just a big hit to their wide receivers, and I think Isaiah Pacheco could pick up some of the slack there.
Definitely.
And people aren't really thinking about that.
Definitely. My next sleeper is going to be Chase Brown. We even saw last year he was taking not a significant, but he was taking definitely a couple of snaps off of Joe Mixon last year.
Absolutely.
And definitely towards the end of the season, they started to rely on him a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're going to start to do that even more this year. He's a small back, but he's built, so he can definitely run through people. He can run through that line of scrimmage. He can definitely make some plays. So I think that's a decent pick.
Absolutely. So I have 2 more. I don't know how many more you have. Okay, so I'm just going to go over one really quick, and one I'm going to go kind of more in depth. One of them is Austin Eckler. I'm not going to go really in depth with him, but he's still, as much as he's fallen, I've seen him fall in like 9th, 10th round. He's still Austin Eckler. And with a new offense, who knows how he's going to play. It's a really risky pick, but I think he has a really low floor, but he also has a really high ceiling.
Yes.
And I think if you're willing to take the risk, go for it.
But it's not even a risk at that point. If you're getting him in the 7th round,
I would say even 9th or 10th. I've seen that a lot.
Right. So then, like, how many rounds does that draft?
20?
Exactly.
19?
Exactly. So, like, if you're getting him in the 10th round,
yeah,
like, who at that point is giving you a significant
Yeah,
boost
exactly.
to your
16,
team.
sorry. We have 16 picks.
16.
But nonetheless, you're absolutely right. And I think Brian Robinson will, at least the start of the season, be taking some carries from him.
Definitely.
But if Eckler is able to get it going, I think he'll
That's
be
going to shift because they did
good.
give him a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
So that means that they're going to give him some opportunities.
He'll be, I think, if he does that, people will consider him the steal of the draft for most drafts.
Definitely. I'm definitely not going to pick him second overall this time, though.
No, not this year. So who do you have as your last one?
My last one is Blake Corum.
Okay.
So I know you don't agree with this, but
I do not.
But I think that we've seen in the past. Christian doesn't agree with me on this, but I was talking to him yesterday. Sean McVay has a history of not being very reliant on a single running back. He likes to change up his running backs. So
I disagree.
So
it's because of the caliber of running back he had. He didn't give up on Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley's leg exploded.
Right. That is
it's not his fault.
That is true.
So I think now that he has a really good running back, I think at least for now, Blake Corum's going to fall kind of to the back seat, and he'll learn from. I would say learn from Kyren Williams. I was only a year behind Kyren Williams, but I don't think they're going to give up on Kyren really that quickly. The reason he does it is because Cam Akers had that breakout season and just kind of fell off. So then they got Darrell Henderson.
Right. And
then the same thing happened to him. So I really hope that it doesn't happen to Kyren. But who knows? I don't think Sean McVay will give up on him that quickly.
Yeah. When what round was Blake Corum drafted in?
It's second round.
Second round, right? So my thinking is, why are you going to draft
third round? Sorry.
Sure. Well, why are you going to draft a running back in the third round when we all know that the Rams have no draft picks? Why are you going to draft a running back in the third round if you know that
it's always good to have a backup.
Kyren Williams is your guy, right? But it's always good to have a backup, but that backup can take away some carries.
I don't think he'll take away that many carries, especially knowing that he's the backup and the guy behind him is Ronnie Rivers.
I've never heard of him.
Exactly, and behind Ronnie Rivers is Boston Scott.
Boston Scott.
So I think Boston Scott will only be used when the Rams play the Giants.
Very true.
So
Blake Corum is last on my list, so I'm not. Blake Corum is like best case scenario. Not by any means am I not expecting him to do well. He's not a guy that I'm really gonna. He's a guy that I'm gonna look at on waiver wire, definitely. Probably not a guy that I'm gonna be drafting.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. And I think the guy that I'm about to my last pick is also be a good eye to keep on the waiver wire, especially week 1 and 2. This is honestly, I think he might be one of the biggest, the highest. He might have the most amount of waiver wire pickups in the first couple weeks. And I'm going to go with Tyrone Tracy. He is the running back that the Giants drafted in the 4th round.
Oh, yes.
And I just have this feeling that he's going to be a very good running back.
Really?
And people are not kind of realizing that.
Even after them trading for Devin Singletary?
Yeah, I think Devin Singletary is a good pick, but I don't think he's a high enough caliber running back to where they won't try out Tyrone Tracy.
But even Dable said that they're going to feed Devin Singletary like crazy.
So one thing that you should know is that in college, Tyrone Tracy, I think he was a wide receiver for a while. So I feel like he's going to get a lot of the Giants.
Oh, good catching. And Devin Singletary doesn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I definitely. And in PPR formats, that actually may be a better.
I think he was a running back this past season at Purdue.
Okay.
His last few games, he played very well. He had 300-yard games. His 11-18 game against Northwestern, he had 160 yards.
Jesus.
1 touchdown, 4 receptions, 38 yards. And I just think that he's going to be a very good receiving running back. And
I can see that. I mean, the Giants need all the help they can get on offense, so
yeah, absolutely.
Why not try out somebody new?
He's good. I think he's going to be a very good waiver wire pickup. I really do. And I think everybody should keep an eye on him throughout the season because the Giants kind of don't know what they're doing, I feel like, right now.
No, they do.
So it wouldn't hurt them to try out Tyrone Tracy.
Right.
So I think that concludes our sleeper section, and which means the running back episode. is done, and we're going to go tomorrow. We will see you for the wide receiver episode, and the day after that, we're doing tight ends. And I think in the first video I said Friday is going to be defense kickers. I don't really think we need that.
I don't think we need that.
I think it's kind of straightforward. So Friday will be our mock draft overview. We're going to go over kind of our strategy when picking, what to think, what to do.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's it. We'll see you tomorrow for the wide receiver video.
Have a good day, guys.